Hey, I'm Chris Sibbald and welcome to my training on From Burnout to Balance. How you can thrive in teaching again. Rediscover your passion for teaching in 90 days. Using proven strategies to help overcome burnout and rediscover your joy for teaching in the classroom. Teaching's never been so challenging, and I know how you feel. I worked in education for 20 years and I've been putting together this training to help you overcome burnout and get a better balance in your teaching career. So let's get straight into it. Okay, let's get started. So, welcome to my training on From Burnout to Balance and how to thrive in teaching again. This training is going to help you reclaim your passion for teaching in 90 days or less with proven strategies to help you overcome burnout, rediscover your joy in the classroom. So if you are sitting watching this, you obviously are here for a reason. Your well-being is taking a bit of a hit. You may be not enjoying teaching as much as you have done in the past. Something's changed. Something's not right. You may be feeling anxiety, you're feeling stressed, maybe you're on the edge of burnout, or you are noticing some of those signs. But something's not right, so you've chosen to do something about it. Let's start with the hard truth that nobody talks about. Over 78% of teachers report symptoms of serious stress, and many who are signed off work with work-related stress never return to the classroom. In most cases, the school isn't going to support you with your recovery. You'll get signed off, you'll get replaced, and permanently gone from the classroom like you've never been there. And you might be feeling that you're only one bad way a week from breaking, and you're not imagining it. If you're a teacher, you still love the job, but now you feel exhausted, you're anxious, you're wondering that you just can't keep going. You're not alone. Well, it isn't your fault. You've been led to believe that, burnout's just part of the job. If you can't handle the pressure, then you shouldn't be teaching. But actually, you're not the problem. Burnout isn't a weakness, it is a warning sign that something's not right. And with 3 simple shifts, you can go from dreading your school day to thriving in your role in just 90 days or less. Because when you are feeling stressed, when you are feeling anxiety, when your well-being is taking a hit, something's not right, there's still a stigma attached. You don't really want to mention it to your colleagues. You don't really want to go to your line manager or HR and let them know. And actually, that is one of the things that's wrong. Recognizing it is the hardest part, but also can be the easiest thing to just say, look, something isn't right. But if you don't feel comfortable to go to work and mention it there, then you're in the right place. Because I've worked with hundreds of teachers in the same thing. But one of the issues when you do go to work, you can maybe feel not heard or it's not taken very seriously. And you might just get the link to an app, or maybe they think, oh, it'll get better, and nothing's really changing. And that can be very frustrating. My journey from a teacher to a coach, well, as I mentioned in the introduction, I was a teacher in secondary schools for 20 years. And on the outside, it looks successful. Worked my way up from teacher, head of department, worked in a pro for a short period of time. That was another story. That could be a training just by itself. And I ended up burnt out, took a sabbatical, came back, kind of got drawn back into the profession, ended up being head of department and also then head of sixth form, which was a job I really enjoyed. But like I say, on the surface, everything looked okay. You're going to work, hi, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. All this type of rubbish. But actually, in part, inside, I was falling apart. I was not happy at all. And I did feel guilty for struggling. I used to question myself, how come I was always that teacher who those teachers who were struggling came to? I was always the one, the strong one, whereas now it's me struggling. How come everything I did in the past worked? Now it's not starting to work. And that really knocked me confidence. And instead of going in with your shoulders back and your head held high, you're looking forward to the day. You're actually going into work in survival mode. You're going, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, I've got this class. Someone comes in your class and walks past, you think, what are they looking for? You start to fear things that wouldn't normally bother you. But then I've discovered that I wasn't alone. And since I left teaching, I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of teachers who are feeling exactly the same. So my key point from this, it's not just you. It's just that unwritten thing that teachers don't speak about. So here's the thing. Most teachers aren't just tired. They also question their identity. They've lost who they are, the passion, the thing, and am I cut out for this anymore? But what really happening is you've been gaslit by the profession. The profession, the system is set up to make you feel. And when you are feeling, you start to believe that's you when it's not. It is that system. And then what happens is a number of teachers leave, and then some new naive people come in, and they take on, they start the battle. But the problem is now we find in the sector, people don't want to come into it, and there's more people leaving than actually coming into it, which is a huge problem within itself. So you've been told it's normal to feel exhausted. You get all those holidays. Asking for help is weakness. That self-care is selfish. And here's what hurts the most. Like I say, you're not going to get much support from school. More than likely going to be a bit of a conversation. You get signed off. They'll be making and saying the right things. But nothing's going to change. The system isn't going to change. The culture's not going to change. The lack of support isn't going to change. Because when you do come back, or you've been off, it's just going to go back to normal. And here is the thing. The system is completely failing everyone in it. And until you're prepared to stand up for yourself and make some changes, nothing is going to change. So what you end up doing is you start putting on a mask. Yeah, everything's fine. You just pretend and everything's okay. But inside, it's killing you. Here's the 4 masks of teacher burnout. You got the holding it all together mask. You're the reliable one. Everyone goes to you for support. Everyone's leaning on you to help them, to support them. They've got a problem. You're the one who's coming to it. You're the head of department. You're the head of year. You're that senior leader. You've always been that person who people just magnetize towards for help and support. Maybe you're the overachiever mask. You try to fix the pain by doing more. You say yes to everything. You're drowning in a never-ending to-do list. Because this is the thing, isn't it? When you're the overachiever, what you learn is when things get tough, you do more of it. You stay later. You go in early. You do that extra work on an evening. You do that extra work on a weekend to get it done. But what happens with that is you send yourself spiraling and you're into overwhelm because you're never going to be able to get it done with all the obligations that are on teachers now. You've got the martyr mask. You're putting everyone first. But you don't complain. You just suffer in silence. So you maybe that second in department, or maybe that experienced teacher in the department, or even that a leader. You just do it while kind of everyone else takes the credit or whatever, or you just get it done. And these masks can come into your personal life as well. So if you've got family, you just you're doing the washing, you're just doing it, you just do what's got to be done because it's just what's expected now. You just get on with it. And then you've got the disconnected mask. You're shutting down. You're starting to go through the motion. You're starting to feel resentful. You're starting to feel bitter of what teaching's done to you. And these masks, the first time I seen these, actually blew my mind. Because actually, if you're sitting there and thinking, actually, Chris, all four of them I can really resonate with. That's fine as well, because we all got aspects of these going on, you know. So to me, I think this makes a really good cycle as well, because we, have kind of always been that teacher's been looked up to. You get it all right, but then things kind of start to change. So you start to work harder, you start to do more, you start to change the cycle, but it's not working. Then you just keep on doing it. You become in the martyr, and then you've been in the martyr for that long, and you just become disconnected. One of the things I always said is I didn't want to be that teacher, late 40s, 50s, 60s, who, sits in the staff room and just slates everything and be super cynical. I couldn't do that. But they're just holding out for their pension. That's not a nice place to be for you, but also for the students and for the school. So you might think, well, how do I break free from these masks? Well, here's the thing. Your masks aren't you. Your masks, they're where you've went to. They are who you've become to try and survive. So if you don't take them off, they're going to become like a prison, They're going to be like a gilded cage that you're stuck into. They are not you. You just put these up to protect yourself. So you become that person who's always saying yes, just so you can look good or whatever. Or you're just doing the martyr thing because it's what's expected of you. Or you become disconnected because if you actually realise the reality or how you feel about your job and your career and what's going on, you'd probably end up in tears. So you can break free. There is a pathway forward. So we've got the 5 stages of teacher burnout, and I think this is so important because I talk to so many teachers. Chris, man, I'm not burnt out. I'm just a bit stressed. I'm not really burnt out. I've just got a bit of anxiety, and that's where it starts. You don't just go from 0 to burnout. It starts step by step, little things. So let's have a look at this visual timeline. So you've got your enthusiasm, you're joining the profession, you are passionate, you're purposeful, you cannot wait to get in that classroom and change as many people's lives as possible. I'm sure we've all been there in our first few years of teaching. You may be starting to stagnate a little bit, starts maybe sparks fading a little bit. You feel a bit stuck maybe. Things aren't maybe going as well as they could have been. Or they're going the way that you wanted them to go to. Maybe got a struggling group, you find it really tough, or there's maybe been a change in leadership in the school and something's just not right, it's just not working. But then you can go to the frustration where, you're starting to question yourself a little bit now. That, hang on, well, all those things I did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, they used to work. I was the best teacher in the department, or I was one of the best teachers in the school. But now, you're not. The learning walks are showing you're not. Your work scrutinies and your grades and maybe the behaviour has kind of shown that you're not. So you're starting to get frustrated. The overwhelm's starting to creep in because, as I mentioned on the last slide, you're now working harder than ever. You're going in earlier, you're working later, you're doing work on an evening and a weekend to try and change the decline. But nothing's changing. And then apathy starts to creep in. You may be starting to accept that, is this it? Is this just who I am now, this burnt out, struggling teacher? Maybe you've noticed that people are starting to maybe look at you a bit different, or you feel as though people are saying things about you now because things aren't working. And you just completely depleted, got no energy left. Physically, mentally, you're on the edge. And then you can get into the collapse or the awakening. You either break down or you wake up and you say, look, I just can't do this anymore. And for burnout, for teaching, many people leave it to the collapse or the awakening, which is they just phone up and they kind of go back that day because they just completely burn out. They've got nothing left in the tank. And that'll be when they'll either never go back or they maybe go back and then find they're still broken and eventually leave, or they have that awakening. As many teachers have done now, just look, I've got to get out of teaching, I've got to leave, I've got to escape. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be that way. If you can do the work, make changes at the beginning, you don't have to get to that collapse or awakening. It's not a nice place to be. I've been there twice. So here are 3 shifts I walk teachers through inside the 90-day program. And these are the pillars of discovery. So you need to build those sustainable habits that are going to protect you, your energy and well-being. If you go in every day and you've got no boundaries, you just go in and you're kind of free for school to do as the police, you're just going to end up absolutely shattered and wrecked. So what I do is we go through and we protect boundaries. You come up with simple shifts, simple little changes that you can make that are going to make you feel energized and that are going to protect your well-being, because that is the most important part. If you don't have the energy to do the job, you're not going to be able to teach. You're not going to be able to do the job that you love. Reignite with your purpose. This is one of the things I found, and many teachers find out, is you forget who you are. So kind of I was just the teacher, Chris, but actually who was Chris? My whole life was, I'm the teacher. But when you get past the job title, who was I? What did I like doing? What type of holidays I like going on? What type of music do I like? What do I like to do on my days off, or is during the holidays? And I'd lost all that. And I'm still figuring it out now, some of the time. Reconnect with, I used to really like that type of music. I used to really like these series on TV, and I kind of go back. So you need to find your purpose. Who are you doing it for? Why are you doing it? What do you like doing? If it is a Sunday morning, what do you like doing on a Sunday morning? And when you've got a purpose, when you are filling your week up with things that, kind of add stuff to your soul, that are putting a smile on your face, it really makes a difference. And regulating your nervous system. There's so many well-being days, and all this kind of rubbish in teaching now. And, someone will come in, they'll do a bit yoga, or they'll give you a half day, or, someone will buy pizza, things like that. That's not going to work. You need evidence-based tools that if you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling anxious, you are feeling overwhelmed, or you're on the verge of burnout, there's things you can do to calm down your nervous system. And I've got a list of tools, a bank that I go through with my clients of that they can do is can use these anyway. They could be driving a car. They could be just sitting 10, 50 minutes before a lesson or on their lunch break. And it can just bring that heart rate and regulate that nervous system, calm the autonomic nervous system down. It can make a huge difference. So for these 3 shifts, I see it making a massive difference to a lot of teachers' lives. So they're all evidence-backed. I'm using the systems I've used. They've got research to show that it makes a big change. You can be doing it in minutes. You don't have to be sat at home lying on a sofa. You can do it at work. And like I say, those 5-minute breaks. And if you can recognize the signs, you've got that self-awareness, you can put them into place. You can instantly make that difference. So if you're starting to feel that overwhelm or that anxiety, I've got year 11 next, you've got the skills, you've got the toolkit to manage that. So you won't go into the lesson spiraling before you've even started. As I said, remembering why you do what you do. One of the most important things you can do is building the boundaries. But one of the foundational stones with creating the boundaries is building your self-confidence back up. Because one of the reasons we say yes to everything is because we want to please people. We maybe don't have that self-confidence that we should have. So we want to make people happy. In teaching, schools, maths, they're going to take advantage of that. So when you've got your clear purpose, you know what time you've got, you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. It makes it a lot easier to say no. And again, come up with a whole strategy and a training about that. It's covered. And I've got examples of how to say no nicely. And when you're doing that and you're managing your time and you've got your purpose, guess what? You're still going into work with a smile on your face again. Those little things that turned out to be massive issues when you got no energy and you're on the verge of burnout, actually small things, because you've got the toolkit to deal with that. You've got that inner purpose and drive and the energy to be resilient that you didn't have before. And like I say, build no sustainable habits. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So when you can manage your time more effectively, links back to your purpose, that is going to allow you to protect your energy. And you can build in those self-care strategies and practice, which doesn't mean you've got to be sitting doing yoga or anything like that. You know, it's got loads of videos, resources, that easy to just do whenever's fine for you. You could just be going for a walk, taking the dog out on an evening, or, you know, is on the drive to work. You're building that confidence, creating those changes so that you do have a better work-life balance, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what most teachers tell me. That's one of the key things. They want a better work-life balance. Work is running their life when actually your life needs to come first. If you've got that balance, like I said, those little things that turn into big things, it's not going to happen. So I wanted to share with you a couple of success stories. So Jo was head of department. She was signed off with stress, and she was also struggling with some anxiety. And she was really struggling to calm her mind. Work was kind of taking over, and this was affecting her family and also affecting her health. So she started to work with myself, and her sleep dramatically improved. She learned how to manage, control the stress and anxiety. And because of that and those changes and those things that she learned working with myself, she's now back to work. She's enjoying her job again. She's got those boundaries. She didn't have the confidence to be saying no. She'd lost her purpose. She had no energy left. So by making those 3 simple shifts, she's now back and enjoying school. And we've got Charlotte. Charlotte, a primary school teacher, feeling really anxious, disconnected from teaching, was considering leaving. But she's learned how to manage and regulate her emotions and also create boundaries. Again, another people pleaser, saying yes to everything, putting family, friends, personal life last. Well, now she's changed that because she's got the boundaries, she's worked out the why, she's got the tools, she's now calm, she's confident, and she's feeling fulfilled. So it is possible. It doesn't have to be, well, you either put up and shut up or you leave. There's a third option, which is invest in yourself and make the change. So this is how I help people in me Thrive in Teaching 90-day program. You start off with a one-to-one game plan phone call. So we'll get clear on where you are, get some easy wins, and see where you want to be to give you that momentum so you're hitting the ground running. There's a step-by-step online curriculum that you can go in and work through at your own pace. It's not just another, it's something else I've got to do. You can dip in and dip out when works out. You don't need that much time. There's a weekly group coaching course, and you can come on there. And these sessions are designed so when you get roadblocks, which is going to happen, there's something that's maybe holding you back, and You come on the call, you ask your question, you get that support. And it gives you the momentum to break through the roadblock and smash that week ahead. And some supportive community of like-minded teachers. One of the things I said at the beginning, we all think it's just us. Everyone else has got it sorted. Everyone else is smashing out the park. But not. They're not. A lot of people feel exactly the same, but because teaching still got that stigma, still got that culture, they just think it's just them. Imagine what it would be like to be in a community where there's other teachers and say, yeah, that's not just me. You know, it isn't just me. Because when you do think it, your confidence takes a big hit. It's not. Everyone's feeling the same. And when you've got that validation, you've got that support to help each other, it's transformative. So I've given away a 30-minute strategy session. And what you will get from me is we will identify your mark, discover what patterns you're going through for burnout, discover what is happening with yourself, where you are, where you want to be. Look at that stage and determine and have a look at, where do you want to be? Give you some clear next steps and strategies that you can put into place straight away that can have an immediate impact on your well-being. So, if everything was okay, you wouldn't be here. So if you are ready to stop pretending you're okay and you actually want to start healing authentically, if you're sick of being alone and feeling like it's just you and you want to access support to help you recover from burnout and improve your well-being, you're in the right place. If you're ready to put yourself first and fall back in love with teaching, then why don't you book your free session with myself now? I've worked with hundreds of teachers and made some absolutely fantastic changes, and there's some amazing success stories. It doesn't have to be inevitable that you're going to get burnt out. There is another way. You don't have to leave the profession. If you love teaching, but it's making you ill, then why don't you DM me the word strategy? And what you can do, you can set up a free session now. We can go through and get you some clarity, and you can start making some changes now that are going to sort out your well-being. That can make a massive difference to your life. Hope this helped. Have a great day.